Hello and welcome to Mad Owl Goes Racing, and today we're in Automobilista 2 and we're having a look at the latest updates for both the EA and the latest beta. Now if you're on early access you should now be on, as of about half an hour ago or whenever it came up, 0.8.0.1, and now underneath my ugly mug down here is a number. And it tells you what version you are on. There's a few extra numbers on the end. In the case of the one, it's 1120, and then you should have .avx if you're on a newer processor. That means it's using AVX instructions. If it's not saying .avx, then you're on the non-AVX. And if you've got a newer processor, possibly worth going and asking about that one. You can check on various sites whether or not your processor supports the appropriate AVX instructions. Most newer stuff does. Anything after, I think it's the first generation i3, i5, i7 should have AVX. Everything before that might not. On the Intel side, AMD side, pass. Can't remember, been a while. I think anything after the Venoms, was it? Should have AVX. I might be talking complete balls here, but there you go. But basically, if you've got .avx on the end, your machine will be using the newer instructions. Right. Changelog for the 0.8.0.1. I will ignore the other numbers for now. There's far too many of them. Right. Adjusted rain spray parameters. So you get a slightly longer draw distance and they decay a bit slower. So basically, it's more rain, so you can't see where you're going. But like I said on the other day, if you go into the options and in the performance, you can adjust the particle level and density, and if you're finding the rain too much, you can lower them to as low as they'll go, or even turn them off. That's cheating though. Don't do it. Don't cheat. Raised default camera world movement from 50 to 75 and reduced G-force effect from 50 to 25, resulting in less default cockpit camera movement. Basically, one or two people were going, there's too much motion. I've been running at default for years on Project Cars 2 without. The only time I changed it is in VR. You can have some right weird shit happening, so I think it's locked in VR now. User interface, added game version number to main menu screen. I've mentioned that. Desaturated championship and time train panels in main menu to better illustrate current unavailability. In other words, they're in black and white now, so don't bother pressing them. They ain't there. Nothing happens. Adjusted order and included start button in test day custom event menu. Allow pressing start button with cursor plus accept button as well as gamepad start button. So in other words, there's a lot of ways to get started. If I just go into the test day, so what was it? So does that mean you can cycle? Oh yeah, you can now get to the using your D-pad, because before you couldn't, and it was a pain in the bum. Good move. Added missing track background screens and track maps for Snetterton. Yep. Oh, I'm assuming that big white square is meant to be it, but I am. This is the point where I go, I'm actually on the next version looking at this, so maybe that I'll have to go back and check the other one and check to make sure this. It's possible they put it in and then it fell out again, but it does say track background screens and track maps, so it's not necessarily that. So I might be talking bollocks. Ignore me. No, don't ignore me. I may have just made an assumption. I'm good at those. Go back to Href. Right. Obviously the big white square there is usually like a little track map to show you, or is it the no, that's the icon, isn't it? Yeah, that's a track map, that big thing, and that's a little track map. That's usually something else. I'm just trying to think what's been there. I can't think. I'll have to go through all the other ones. Don't worry about it. Corrected F10 livery thumbnails. Presumably some of the liveries were not matching up with the thumbnails. Easy to do. Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt. Physics and AI. Slightly adjusted tyre tread physics for Formula Classic Gens 2 and 3. Super V8. Mitsubishi Lancer. Formula V. Opala. Ultima GTR. Caper Truck. Caterhams and carts. Whether they went more or less or more, I don't know. But it feels fine. So, slightly reduced pneumatic trail for slick tyres and adjusted max steering rack forces to suit results in slightly more consistent FFB. Again, that's one of those things they can play with a lot to get things how they should be as far as their opinions concerned. I'm sure there'll be lots of people out there who disagree with opinions. Fixed error in suspension rates of Super V8 sprint race, which could lead to excessive bouncing mid-corner, other handling woes. That's why this is sitting here. I'm going to have a couple of laps around in a minute. Adjusted differential locks for all Caterham models with LSD. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Wrong type of LSD. Adjusted brake response curve and reduced default brake pressure to 90% for all cars. Basically, a lot of people are having trouble with locking tyres due to various issues with brakes. They're also saying make sure you recalibrate, unlike me, because I never do, your pedals. And importantly, and I don't think it says it anywhere in there, if you have made any changes and saved setups and they are now effectively all default, get rid of them or reset them to default, because if you have created a default now, it will still have the old values. It will still be on 98 or 100% pressure, not 90%. And you might think, nothing's changed. It's because you're using the old setup. Yep. Where were we? Reduced error in Ultima GTR race rear brakes, which could cause it to lock rear wheels easily. There's still a few cars that seem to do that. I don't know whether that's just something in the way the Magnus engine braking system works, whether there's something that does a bit of sort of balancing between front and rear as the car noses down. Obviously, as it does that, more weight is on the front, so you can brake harder on the front but less hard on the back. But what seems to happen is as you slow, and presumably the car is starting to do this again, although whether it does or doesn't is a different matter, you would expect more weight to go back on the back, but that's when it seems to be locking, is when it's getting slower, it's locking the rears. So you can compensate for that obviously by putting more front bias on your brakes, but you might then end up locking the fronts more. So balancing act, shock. Reduced brake torque for supercart. That stopped it talking. I didn't think it was that bad, but I know the 125 cart didn't have brakes that really worked, but I didn't notice too many problems with the supercart. Fixed, missing rear pre-warmed tyres for the Formula 3 and Rocco 001. Adjusted AI dry tyres for Caterhams, Touring Car Classics, Ultima GTR, Arc Camaro, Formula Vintage, Formula Trainer, and more consistent performance versus the player. Always nice to know. Adjusted AI wet tyres for stock. Ooh, don't scroll up too far. Oh, no. Stock V8, Sprint Race, Super V8, Caterham, Formula Classic, Touring Car Classics, Formula Trainer for more consistent performance versus player. Feeling a deja vu though. Fixed Chevette 5th gear ratio. I believe that they've got 4th and 5th with the same ratio, which is always a bit... I've hit maximum revs, I'll change up. I'm still on maximum revs. Oh bollocks, yes. Vehicles, Mitsubishi Lancer, fixed windscreen textures issue. Ultima GTR, fixed shifting animation, manual instead of pedals. Added chrome strips to some liveries, fixed wheels and exhaust Vertex AO. Added backfire animations, Caterham 620R. Updated several liveries, added some metallic variations. Bling! Formula Vintage added missing lower LOD models, which would cause cars to disappear in lower car detail settings. Beamed up by aliens again. Tracks, Hareth, complimentary art pass and fixers. Snetterdon fixed curbs and added 3D marbles to both layouts, so you can go out and play marbles now. Now, on top of the 0.8.0.1 changes, there are some additional changes for this version, which is the beta 0.8.0.2.1122.avx. If I remember the full number. This was planning to go out as the EA update, but there are some things that didn't quite work as well as it's hoped or expected, so it'll be rolled out once they fix the fixes, if you know what I mean. UI fixed several inaccurate vehicle statistics info in vehicle selection screen. If you're going to put numbers, get them right. AI changed AI calculation for when a safe pass is possible, leading to more AI attacking behaviour versus player and AI versus AI, and in less hesitation mid-corner. So basically they're trying to get the AI to... One of the worst things that can happen is you are running multi-class and the faster cars get up behind the slowest cars to lap them and sit there and sit there and sit there, and they go, no, there's not enough space here, when there's about 3 acres on their outside of a track, whether it's on the corner or down a straight, and they could just drive around them. So you end up with this bloody train of cars sitting there going, nope, can't pass, nope, can't pass, and you're just pissing past them like there's no tomorrow. As much fun as it is to pass all the cars in front of you, but do it fairly. Adjusted AI performance to suit new calculation, allowing better consistency in slow versus fast corners. Further balancing of AI start performance versus player. For cars that were too fast off the line versus the player, AI too slow, still to be fixed. So several people saying everything's working quite hunky-dory, and then they've decided that the AI was a little bit over-aggressive, so they've backed off on this, and you won't be seeing this until they fixed it. By which time it'll be 0.8.0.3 or 4 or something else. There are a few interesting comments coming up here and there. Things like, oh, this car seems a bit gutless, and then it turns out that somebody's actually trying it out at, oh, use the down button, Ibarra. Where am I? When am I? Yeah, that should be right. May. Should be a bit of warmth. As I said, this car I had saved a setup on it, and of course I went to try it and went, oh god, it's still locking the brakes up far too easily, and of course I still got 100% brake pressure on it, so it should be better, but we'll find out. And we're going to have a look round at the art changes as well. If at first you don't succeed, give it some bloody welly. Right, first impression of the art pass on Hareth is, damn, that looks good. Should we get outside the car so we can have a better look around. Ooh. I don't normally drive like this, by which I mean this slowly. Yeah, that's looking really nice. It's like a social distancing going on in the crowd again, but they're a bit better over there. But I have to say, it's looking really, really nice. I think we've actually got proper serrated curbs around here, so I can feel some nice. I've once again been twiddling with my equipment by changing some of the. I think I changed the gain and the low force boost. I was finding the wheeler got a bit heavier but lacked a bit of detail, so I've turned the gain down a bit, turned the low force boost down a bit, and I've got back the nice feeling of I'm going over an edge or something, and I can feel it again now. So, yep, this circuit is looking lovely. If I'd have looked left and right button, I'd be looking over there. Oh, the outside sounds on this is quite nice. A few people wandering up a path over there. Going to join that big crowd, presumably. We do a full circuit and then get back in the car. But yeah, that's looking really nice. I think they got the balance on the colour right, not too bright, not too dull. Nice variation in sort of dead grass, live grass. Don't forget the extra corner, okay? I'll try not to. Might notice we're not exactly getting a lot of temperature in the tyres from going this slowly, so. But it seems like on the edges here, where you can see the edge of the grass, having a nice transition, so instead of just being like it's grass tarmac, you've got a nice transition there. This is one of the things project cars did really well, is getting nice obvious, they've sort of worked the edge of the grass so it looks like it sort of transitions between properly, rather than just being some of the older titles where it's just like everything's plain grass, in the grass. So let's get back in the car, wait for the sound to change. I just had a thought, if I turn the I was tinkering earlier, I turned some things off. Ooh, I was tinkering with traction control and mucking about. Yeah, did I mention the one of the things people were talking about were cars feeling gutless, and it turns out that what they were doing was driving at places like Ibarra. Ibarra is 2,200 metres above sea level, which means a normally aspirated engine is going, can't breathe, can't breathe, can't breathe, and it's lacking oxygen basically, so you've lost about 20% of your power. It's something like 10% per 1,000 metres or something you lose from a normally aspirated engine. Forced induction is not so bad. You'll still get most of the power. Your turbo will have to be working a lot harder, which is why in places like Mexico, when they're racing in the F1 V6 hybrid era with those turbo engines, they are more likely to bugger the turbo because basically it's working so much harder, which is why I think it was Renault, was it last year or the year before, had huge problems at Mexico with blowing turbos. Well, it's because, well, no, it wasn't them, was it? Theirs was the one that worked really well in it, wasn't it? One of them had more problems with the turbos than normal, and basically it's because your turbos there haven't worked so much harder to compensate because of the thinner air. Slide the back end around, get some heat in the tyres. So yes, if you want to check how quick your cars are, try and find something that's a bit closer to sea level. Montreal, 10 metres above sea level, Netherlands 45-ish. Donington Park is 85 metres above sea level. Brands Hatch is about 145. Places to avoid: Kyalami 1480 metres, Ibarra 2200. Basically, a lot of South America is quite high, especially Colombia. Aha! It's down to what they grow over there, I think. But no, there's a lot of very high plateaus. Same with South Africa. It's all on a big high plateau, and you get expectations from people that expect more grunt from a car. Well, it's basically because it can't breathe, so, and it's realistic. Was it the Top Gear team a few years ago went to Peru, or was it when they were in Peru? Basically their cars wouldn't get over the top of the Andes or wherever they were going because they were so bloody gutless they literally wouldn't go up an incline like that. So, not to mention having to take Viagra, apparently that helps to keep your brain going. I think it was just an excuse actually. So as you can see, as I'm deliberately driving over a few lumpy bits here and there, the old sprint car definitely a lot less bouncy. So things progressing nicely. So I think as we cross the line we'll call that a day. Oh, and he wins! Well, he's the only one in the race, of course, the bloody one. Right, that was a quick rundown of 0.8.0.1 update, which you should see. Like I said, I think it arrived about an hour ago. It was released. Might be more than that because I've been waffling. But definitely improvements, all going in the right direction again, which is always nice to see. And that'll do me for now. Better go out and get some practice in for going and racing at Kyalami later. I have done some practice. I'm still bloody slow though. And I'm going to be in VR tonight, so I'll better make sure I can actually see everything I need to see in the VR and still see where I'm going. As that's the whole point of VR. Right, for me, for now, enjoy your racing, stay safe, as always, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.